Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that should be coming out towards the end of 2020, unless they do decide to delay it again. But this is a compact game, there's so much going on here, and considering it originated from a tabletop game back in the 1980s, this game has a lot of backstory and a hell of a lot of lore. So in this video, I'm going to be going through what Cyberpunk 2077 is about, and also talk about how the world has evolved to the point of what Cyberpunk 2077 is. If you do want to talk more about Cyberpunk, then I am streaming over on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Obviously I should not have to point this out, but when this game is finally released, you know that we are going to be going hard on it over there. So if you want to be notified when these streams finally do start happening, head over to there, drop a follow, and you'll be notified the next time I go live. A link to Twitch can be found in the description down below, as well as every other one of my socials. To begin with, I want to say spoiler alert, we are talking about the plot of Cyberpunk 2077. I do not know the ending, so I can't spoil it in that way, but we do now know what the beginning involves, as CD Projekt Red has allowed certain people within the Cyberpunk community to play the beginning. Those people have then gone on, and as part of their contracts, they're allowed to speak about it. They're allowed to hype us up. So we now know the beginning of the game. If you've been trying to shield yourself away from this, it is probably a good idea just to completely click off this video, as we will be going through quite a bit. To start, you play as V, which is a name you can't change, but you can customize the character by changing the gender, the body type, facial details such as eyes, eye color, nose, mouth, jaws, ears, skin tone. You can change the hair, scars, tattoos, makeup, piercings, clothes, background details, and you can also change your initial character stats, which are broken down to strength, constitution, intelligence, reflexes, tech, and cool. And I should point out that this is information that came from a gameplay video a few years back, and in that video they said that this is the basic start, and it will probably change by the time this is released. When starting the game, V has 3 different backstories: Nomad, Street Kid, or Corporate. Each one starts with a completely different intro. If you select Street Kid, it takes place in underworld of Haywood, wealthy district but not a safe neighborhood. V starts at El Coyote Coho, a local dive bar they frequently visit, where they're offered a job of carjacking from a fixer named Kirk. Unfortunately, this job does not go to plan, and it ends up going extremely wrong. The second choice is Nomad. V is a lone drifter making their way through a small town out in the Badlands, which is an outskirt of Night City. It's a wasteland due to pollution and many oil fields. V is simply passing through to Night City, but ends up running into trouble with a local sheriff, and to make matters worse, corporate agents get involved when V tries crossing the border. The final lifestyle path is Corporate. V starts off at Arasaka Tower as an agent working for their boss called Jenkins. Long story short, V gets roped up into Jenkins' business, and this ultimately ends up going wrong. These 3 path choices will have lasting consequences on V throughout the story, but will also decide skill sets and abilities that they can use for the rest of the game. CD Projekt Red have highlighted how these life paths change dialogue options. As a street kid, you'll understand the lingo of gangs around Night City, but you'll struggle to understand corporate agents. Likewise, if you select Corp, you'll understand corporate agents a lot better compared to if you were to come across a gang, and this will last throughout the game. As a street kid talking to other gang members around Night City, you'll have different options. There's ways that you can leverage the conversation, and that will give you different gameplay. In each and every one of the backstories, Street Kid, Nomad, Corporate, V will meet and befriend a character called Jackie Wells, with their relation different in each one. Corporate V is already friends with Jackie. Nomad V meets Jackie on a job in the Badlands, and as a street kid, V meets Jackie on the carjacking job. Despite having a branching narrative from the get-go, the second you create your character and start playing this game and select one of the life paths, it does all come together after these introductions, as V and Jackie are trying to make a life in Watson, a district of Night City filled with low-income houses and industrial factories. Both V and Jackie are trying to make it within the world, and end up starting working for Dexter Deshawn. This is where it links to the gameplay video that was shown back in 2018. where V and Jackie had to buy stolen military gear from the Maelstrom gang. And this is where we're up to in the story. This is the beginning of starting Cyberpunk 2077. The rest of the game is apparently about finding a rare prototype that holds the secrets for immortality, and it seems that you're going to be getting caught up into a number of different people, a number of different gangs, a number of different corps that are all trying to find this one prototype. Other than that, we do not know anything else with the story. There's quite a lot of speculation in the Cyberpunk community, and some of that speculation can be backed up with trailers as well as what Projekt Red have said in the past, but we still do not know for definite. So that's the story of Cyberpunk 2077. And now I hear you ask, well, that's cool, I love the story, but what about the world that V lives in? How did this end up being the world? So the universe of Cyberpunk is set in the exact same timeline as us, except with a slightly alternative history which has changed the future. Dating back to the 1980s, a number of events have taken place which alters the course of the world. This led to trade wars, biological warfare, societal collapse, and the breakdown of governments. If you would like to see a video about these major events that actually directed the course of our world, then I'm happy to go and do a video on that. Just let me know in the comment section down below. With these massive events that took place in the world, the government collapsed, and in the chaos, a number of corporations have stepped up to fill the positions of power. This led to technological advances as the government no longer restricted the corporations, and these tech companies ended up multiplying in size, growing bigger than ever expected, bigger than the countries they even belonged to. Countries were then dependent on these corporations, like in a way that the countries are dependent on government. Corporations saw how easily power was obtained, and that's when the fight to be the #1 corporate begun, as each corporation looked for world dominance. These corporations deal in weapons, robotics, cybernetics, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, communications, and most of these companies work above the law. With the lack of governments and law, crime has increased not just within the corporations but with everyone. There are daily conflict as there's an increase in rival gangs as they are also trying to fight for territory. All of this is happening in the universe of Cyberpunk, but the game itself is set in Night City, a fictional West Coast metropolis set between Los Angeles and San Francisco in the free state of Northern California. Free states are still part of the Union in United States, but are now independent. They can announce federal laws as invalid and create their own. Due to the constant threat of life within Night City, all citizens are allowed to own and openly carry firearms in public, and homelessness within Night City is at an all-time high and getting higher, but that still doesn't mean the poor are excluded from cybernetic modifications. It's just not as safe, it's not as effective, and it's not as aesthetically pleasing as more expensive modifications that only the rich can afford. As briefly mentioned at the beginning of the video, Cyberpunk's world has got many years of lore backing it. It was originally a tabletop game that came out in the 1980s, so it has 40 years of story and lore to back it. It is absolutely massive. What Projekt Red is building on top of that, using what's already there to have the foundation of this game. So there's quite a few different events that led to what Night City is today. We have just done a basic overview, but if you do want more information about the exact events that led to this world being what this world is, then let me know in the comment section down below and I will bring a video out about that. So that is the world of Cyberpunk. Started off very similar to ours, but with a few events to alter its course, it then turned into this, where crime is at an all-time high, where death rates are at all-time high, where homelessness is at an all-time high. But without the restrictions that the government placed on technology companies, technology just advanced and got better and better and better. This is the start of the story for Cyberpunk 2077 and also the world that it takes place in. If you would like to see anything more from me, then I am streaming over on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Link to that can be found in the description down below. Down there you can also find links to Twitter as well as Instagram, so if you do want to follow that and you do want to get the latest information about what is happening with Cyberpunk, then all of that can be found in the description down below. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, but for now I'm going, so see ya.